Shwmai a croeso cynnes, and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey, and we'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Shwmai a croeso cynnes, the next episode of What's Your Story. And we love having creatives here on the podcast. And today I have a fantastic lifestyle and wedding photographer in the shape of Angharad Stevens. I said that really slowly because actually I know he was just Angharad. I was like, what's your last name?
I know. Was Diamond, now Stevens.
Married?
Diamond, married.
Happily?
Yeah. Asked Tom the same question. Don't know what he'd say, but...
Do you think he's going to be listening to this?
100%, yeah. He loves podcast.
To see if maybe you're sharing some, I don't know.
Top tips.
Top tips?
Top tips.
Top tips. So, you've been into a new venture, transition in the world of business. But for those watching and listening, I'd love for you to describe yourself in a couple of sentences. What is now, Angharad, your typical day job?
My typical day job now is a wedding photographer. Just all things weddings. I should post more on social media actually because I'm just so useless at it, but the lifestyle stuff I need to get better at. But yeah, wedding photographer.
Are you any good at taking photos?
That band?
Well, you must be if people are paying you to take photos.
Yes, I am fantastic.
You're a very good wedding
I'm
photographer.
a very good wedding photographer.
Yes, you are. I feel like you need to be like your confidence coach. Come on, Angharad. You can do it.
I am a very good wedding photographer.
You're a mother as well?
I am. 2 children.
2 children. 3 if you can include Tom.
Well, and the dog.
And the dog?
Yeah.
You got a dog?
I have. Everybody always gets really
What dog have
surprised.
you got?
King Charles Spaniel. Same
way.
colour hair as me.
Oh, wow.
It's like a running joke that all of our pets have the same colour hair as me.
Okay.
Ginger.
A ginger dog.
Ginger dog.
So you now run a wedding photography business primarily that does a lot of lifestyle, dipping your toe into the commercial space. And I absolutely love your wedding photographs. Well, we've booked you as a lifestyle photographer. You've done some family pictures for us, which have been very, very nice. We've used it's currently
all over your social media.
It's currently my Facebook profile picture.
And Amy's cover photo.
I think so.
Your mother-in-law's.
And my mother-in-law, yeah. They all lovely photographs.
Thank you.
It was all good. It was nice to go down to Pembrey. Bit weird. It's a bit weird for me
to be on the other
as
side.
a filmmaker, photographer, to be the other side of the lens.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable. This not so much. I forget the cameras here. Anyway, rambling on a bit. But I want to hear your personal story because it's really exciting to see. I've known you for a couple of years now, and I've been sort of challenging, pushing you to go and take the leap, and you have. So we'll get to that stage where you've taken that leap. But growing up in Carmarthenshire, did you grow up thinking you want to be a photographer when you were older?
A photographer, yeah. I did a art at GCSE in Tregeeb that is no longer there now. Art was the big thing. They didn't really have photography as part of that, but I made them do it for me, basically. Self-taught everything at GCSE level. And then I went on a holiday to Cornwall to go and visit my grandparents after I finished my GCSEs, and I ended up enrolling into their college, and I did A-level photography and psychology, science and English language because I wanted to be a forensic photographer. Obviously not what I've gone into, but yeah, it was always photography, but maybe not the route that I've actually taken.
Wow. So did you move to Cornwall to study?
Not intentionally.
No.
I just went for a little break after GCSEs and I didn't come back until obviously later in life. But yeah, I spent 5 years in Cornwall, I think. Yeah, 5 years.
I didn't know that. So how did you end up back in Wales then? So you've now studied photography. And you wanted to be a forensic photographer. Well, why was that then? What inspired you to go down that specific route of photography?
So I've always loved the forces. I know I said to you earlier about telling my mother that I wanted to be in the RAF. This is pre like GCSEs and nearly going through the window of the car when she broke so hard and was like, absolutely not.
You're not going to survive in an aeroplane.
Well, it was like, what did she say? Didn't give birth to children to send them off to die. That was her thing. And she nearly killed me.
In the car.
Hard she broke. So I've always had a thing for like the forces, I guess. I can't even remember what year in school, year 9 maybe, and they had this open day in Dyfed-Powys Police, and there was about a handful of us that went, and I really enjoyed the forensic side. They gave us like this little class on taking fingerprints and stuff, and obviously I loved photography from a young age. My mother bought me it must have been like a tiny little camera. I used to take pictures of like fish and chips, and she used to tell me how fantastic they were. And then add that to that open day in the police force, and I found out about the forensic side, and I think it just stemmed from there.
Wow.
Made sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you weren't maybe equipped to go in the armed forces. You thought and were inspired to go into public services, which is interesting because now in the future with the family, you got a couple of police officers in your family as well.
Yeah, and I'm not one of them.
And you're not one of them.
And I'm not one of them. I just the forces in general. I just think I actually applied to be. I sound like a jack of all trades, master of none. I applied to be in the fire service as well a few years ago as an on-call firefighter. I got as far as the bleep test on the physical and had to tap out because of shin splints.
No.
Yeah.
So an aspiring police officer, armed force, police, fire service. So public services really, really interested you as a young person. And forensics photography, that's really, really specific because your love for photography at a young age to then apply that because in forensic photography, I'm guessing after watching lots of TV programs,
I am the biggest binge watcher of documentaries, crime documentaries.
Crime. I love a bit of crime, a bit of drama, anything police related, Line of Duty, Luther, all those kinds of things are really, really fun. I love watching those sorts of stuff. But if we talk about forensic photography as an example, you don't really it's not an opportunity to be creative.
No, it's not creative. It's documentary, isn't it? You know,
it's evidence and fact.
Yeah. So completely opposite to what I'm doing.
Which has got nothing to do with weddings.
No.
So tell me about when you were trained as a photographer and you went into this space and then you had the aspiration to become a forensic photographer. Because what was that sort of next step? Did you just go on to get a job and just apply for forensic photography?
So I was working in Lloyd's Bank after I left school. Just wanted to get on the property ladder, wanted to earn money as quick as I could, as fast as I could, and I knew somebody that was a cashier in Lloyd's Bank. She got me a job and it was a way in and I worked myself up there.
You must have been good at maths then.
No, terrible. That's why we had calculators.
You've got to be good in a bank to...
No, terrible. My maths teacher actually phoned my mother during my GCSEs and was like, Angharad is going to fail, which I didn't. And I'd like to say to Mr. Criswick, look at me.
Look at me now.
With my B in my maths GCSE.
Da iawn.
Yeah. So, I was working for Lloyd's Bank, had decided that I was going to try and see if I could apply for the services of some form. So I was told that I could either apply through the police force or the ambulance service, and then you kind of do a few years, I don't know if it's the case anymore, but you do a few years on the beat and then you go into more specialised sectors then, which would be the forensics. I'd applied, I'd got through to the interview stage with the police force. This was in Cornwall, and around that time, my brother, who had cystic fibrosis, he had a double lung transplant, and around the same time he had passed away of acute lung transfer failure. So that put that on hold. I moved from Cornwall, and and decided that I was just going to throw caution to the wind, and I became a children's entertainer. I know.
I never knew this about you.
Did you not know this?
I did not know.
This is how...
So can you sing?
Depends on who you ask.
Some Disney songs, maybe.
Depends on who you ask.
Okay, you became a children's entertainer.
Yeah, I was employed as a lead singer, actually, on a holiday park.
So you can sing. If you were employed as a singer, you tell me you can't sing. Well,
yeah, well, it depends on who you ask. So it was something I always wanted to do as like a childhood like pipeline thing. We used to go on holiday parks. I absolutely loved the cheesiness of holiday parks. And
I can see it now.
yeah. And it was one of those things, when I started earning money, again, I was like, well, it doesn't pay. So I've now earning this money. I'm not going to go and do something like that. It doesn't pay. When that happened with my brother, I was just like, do you know what? Life's too short. I'm not enjoying working Lloyd's Bank. I need less stress. And I actually phoned up somebody that I knew who worked for the company. And I said, listen, have you got any jobs? And got me to send over a couple of videos of me singing and dancing. And I think within the week, I was moving from Cornwall to Great Yarmouth to be a holiday park entertainer.
Wow.
I know. And that's where I met Tom.
That's where you met Tom?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me about that story then. How you met Tom?
So...
was he a children's entertainer as well?
He was. Yeah, he was.
I can't believe it.
He was. Can you not?
Was he a singer?
He can sing. He plays guitar. He cannot dance. Okay. So he was employed as like the presenter. Okay. So the first time I met Tom was after a boiling hot 9.5-hour journey from Cornwall to Great Yarmouth. I was in, as Tom would describe it, the worst trousers he's ever seen a woman wear. They were like these Nike bell-bottom flare things. I've kept them because I just love how much he hates them. Walked into the bar with my new manager, and Tom was there holding the hand of like a 9-foot bunny. And I actually thought Tom was gay.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and he knows this. I tell him all the time that I thought he was not gay, obviously.
Tom is not gay because Angharad has 2 kids.
Not that there would be a problem with that. Well, there would actually, because he's with me with 2 kids. But, yeah. And then I fell pregnant very, very fast after meeting him. And here we are.
And here you are. So were you living together while you were working in this?
Yes, we were living in a caravan. I was next door to his caravan, and ended up just moving into his, and I used my caravan as a wardrobe.
Wow.
And yeah, I then went to his parents' house after our season had finished in November.
Where does his parents live?
Nuneaton, so the Midlands. Was meant to stay there over like a 3-week period up until Christmas, and found out I was pregnant, and it was like, oh, well, we're not leaving, and actually we can't go back to be holiday park entertainers because it's not a place to have kids. Ended up just not enjoying life in the Midlands. I feel like I've lived in Wales, I've lived in Cornwall, very scenic, beachy places, a lot of countryside. I like the sea, and I like the green grass of home. There wasn't a lot of that in the Midlands. And yeah, had fun, didn't know what to do with myself, couldn't be a holiday park entertainer, kind of stopped thinking about the forensic side of things. I think after being there when my brother died, it kind of changed my views on death and what I'd potentially have to capture then. And I didn't know what to do with myself. Didn't want to go back into banking. I didn't enjoy that. But I've always been creative. And while I was working for Lloyd's Bank, actually, to save a bit of money so I could buy my first home, I would paint my own nails to save myself a few bob. And my mother actually said, well, you're quite good at it. Why don't you get a certificate? Start doing it, and you can be your own boss. You can work around your childcare. So that's what I did. I started doing nails. I did that for 7 years.
Wow.
7 years, yeah.
So who did your nails today?
Me. I just can't hand over... I just can't trust somebody else to do what I've done. You know, I really struggle with that.
So it was like something, a bit of a hobby, which then turned into a business.
Yeah, that just, if you asked me if I would be a beautician when I was younger, absolutely not. And it's not, this is untrue completely, but if you were in school and you did beauty, there was like a stigma attached to it, which isn't the case. It was, you know, you didn't have the capacity to do much else in life, which completely not. I know so many people in the beauty industry that are fantastic business owners and very glued on.
I think in colleges that does tend to be
It is, isn't it? And
stereotypical
building and
head in beauty. It's like some you can't, you're not doing A levels.
And I'd almost feel ashamed when people used to ask me what I did, which is awful, because it was so much more than just being a beauty therapist. I was people's actual therapist. The stuff that I was there for people in their lives, like huge, and just the running of the business as well. So yeah, I was doing that. This is a really, really long story. I ended up getting married it was meant to be 2020, but obviously that was postponed because of COVID. And I'd been stalking this photographer on Instagram for ages and just loved her work. Didn't know anything about her, but was fangirling her all the time. And I actually booked her for my own wedding.
And what's her name?
Angharad Thomas.
Angharad Thomas?
Yeah, affectionately known as Annie.
Annie. Okay. How did you find Annie? Was it just on Instagram?
I just think
somebody introduced you to her.
I just think it was one of those cases of maybe somebody that I knew had gotten married or shared something of hers, and I just ended up just following her.
She a photographer in Wales?
She is. Pembrokeshire. Yeah. Ended up booking her for my wedding, and we just became really, really good friends. Just gelled, and then I spoke to her about, obviously, my love for photography and that I would quite like to also get into the wedding industry. I really enjoyed the planning side of my wedding and just all that stuff with weddings. And she told me to go for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she an inspiration.
She is my inspiration.
As cheesy as that is.
So cheesy. And
so what year did you get married?
2021.
Okay, 2021. I got married in 2020. Tough time to get married. It was unique. Actually, I think I'm one of very few people
who got married.
I say this. Well, I did get married, yes, but I say this at a lot of like parties or when I meet people. I've been married once, but I've had 3 weddings. When I say I've had 3 weddings, I open the line up and say, I've had 3 weddings. That makes me sound like I've had 3 wives. But I've only got 1 wife.
So what did you do? You got, what church?
Yeah, so me and Amy, my wife, and my wife is going to be listening to this. And this is funny, because she had a go at me the other day, right? You don't know this. She had a go at me because I keep referring to her on the podcast as my wife. Yeah. And she's telling me, you need to say my name, Amy. But the audience might not know you. This is exactly what I said.
Amy, he's doing the right thing.
Thank you. I'm doing the right thing. Anyway, but I can say Amy to you because you know Amy.
I know.
Anyway, we're having a bit of a laugh and joke with this. So me and Amy, we got married on the 31st of July 2020. That's where we got married in our church. You know, both of us as Christians getting married in church was really, really important. And the whole party of weddings was kind of secondary. So they're having the dance, the speeches and all that. As nice as it is on the day, it was kind of like, do you know what? The most important thing was getting married. So that's what we did. We got married in church. We went round my mother's house in Ammanford. At the time, we probably had about 40 people in her her detached house in Ammanford, where she put on a lovely buffet spread. It was really nice. It was really crammed there. And it was raining. She had loads of room in the garden for people to mingle, but it was raining, so like everyone was crammed in the house. But it was a great day. And I actually remember experience with, I didn't know you at the time, Angharad. So, you know, maybe you could have booked you for a wedding, who knows. But Alex, who did our wedding photographs, he actually did each one. So, you know, that was quite nice for him. And I bet you he doesn't have many people who he photographed 3 times, right?
With the same bride.
With the same bride.
Yeah.
Yes, unless obviously, you know, divorce and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, Alex was great. And we had, the wedding And on our wedding day, we went down to Pembrey. It's still actually, there it is. It is actually my screensaver. Been married nearly 5 years.
I can't believe the photos that I took for you weren't the
and I
screensaver.
haven't changed it. Yeah, your photos isn't my screensaver. But for me, it's really special. It's
Yeah.
like, it was one of the best.
And you look so young in that photo.
So young.
Yeah.
I know.
You look so old
Still young.
now.
I know. I'm nearly 30. I've aged a bit. The job has aged me. But yeah, we got married on the 31st, and I think we were in Pembrey Country Park for about 2 hours, maybe longer. And it was funny because my sister was saying this week, I remember on the day, she wanted to eat some of the food, and my mother was telling her off, no, you can't eat until they come. So everyone was just starving, waiting for us to go back to the house. Anyway, that was wedding number one. Wedding number two, we then had the celebration the following year in the April, I think, of 2021 in Stradley Park Hotel. That's where we had the speeches and things. So we didn't have a wedding ceremony.
Did she wear a dress again?
She wore the same dress.
Yeah.
That was wedding number two. And then most of Amy's family's from Scotland. So we went up to Aberdeen in the same year, in that summer, to then have the wedding celebration with the Scottish family. So, we had a complete different audience of people there that were there for the day, which was really nice. And I wore the same suit. And by the third wedding, it was a little bit snug of me. I was really struggling to button up.
Settling into married life.
I was settling into married life.
Yeah.
And that's not so much the cooking. It was just, we love a takeaway. And, but anyway, we've been married once. We've had 3 weddings. So it's quite a cool story I like to share because people think I've had 3 wives. But one wife, and there always will be only one wife. But we had a good experience after. But the initial COVID wedding was really challenging. Really? And I'm sure you could probably appreciate, being a wedding photographer, what it's like and maybe some of the stress and the hard work it is planning a wedding for a bride.
Yeah, crazy. And I think because I've gone through it myself as well, I can be there a bit more for my brides when they book me as a photographer. I always say to them, I'm not just there to photograph your day. I'm there
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Because you
kind of like somebody
you can
to lean
actually
on.
relate to your customers.
Yeah.
Because you've been married.
I've been married. I think it does give
married.
That, yeah.
You know what it's like.
Yeah. I think it gives that extra little bit. I'm not saying that any wedding photographers that aren't married don't know what they're talking about. Of course they do. I just think I can relate more to how stressful that situation is and all the pressures that come with planning a wedding and stresses and just not knowing where to go. Luckily now I'm in the industry and I know a lot more than I did as a bride, and I just pass on that information now.
So what makes you different to all the other wedding photographers out there? I'm going to tell you, I wanted to get into that space, right?
Yeah.
When I first started my sort of creative journey, I wanted to be a wedding videographer. I don't know if you know this.
Tough work.
Maybe it is hard work. There's a reason.
Not that yours isn't tough work.
Mine's hard. Oh, I've got it easy.
Yeah.
I got to be honest. I got it easy compared to weddings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go into that space because in Wales, I could see there were far more Welsh wedding photographers than there were videographers at the time. So I thought, you know what, that's a bit of a market. I like making short films. I like making documentaries. Oh, well, you can document the day of a wedding. That seems like right up my street, right? And I had a couple, I'm now realising this is live and I got to be careful what I say. Be totally honest, I had a couple of difficult experiences. There's some brides. I was very, very new to the industry. This was like my first couple of paid clients, and I was having people who maybe had that expectation of £1,000 plus wedding package for me to do it for a couple of £100. And I just had some really bad experiences. And I was just like, do you know what? I cannot do it. I had a few bridezillas. Yeah. And for me, that was like, I am not going to do this anymore. Wedding videography is really, really tough. But if you look at the wedding industry, there are so many photographers, and outside of the weddings, in the wedding industry, you can look outside of like florists and makeup artists. There's just such a choice. Why do you think somebody books you, and why do brides come to you? What is it that you give that maybe is different to any other wedding photographer out there?
We're all different, aren't we? I think there's somebody for everybody. Me personally, I think I've got the added as I'm a bride. I have been a bride myself. I wouldn't say that I'm more creative than any other photographers, but I enjoy like the editorial feel to weddings. I do capture documentary, like I'm not gonna put you in loads of different poses and make you feel awkward. But I do like to get creative with photos. And just I like to be there for them at every step of the way. Like I'm the biggest advocate, for like a friend.
A friend?
A friend. A friend.
A friend to the bride?
A friend to and the groom.
And the groom? Oh, we forget about the groom,
or
do we?
Two grooms or two brides or whatever way you want to do it. But yeah, just to be there for them.
Okay. Because I guess there's a lot of wedding photographers out there that would claim to be creative.
Yeah.
And you're probably right. There's someone for everyone, because style, okay, this is probably
such a huge thing.
It's such a subjective thing.
Yeah.
Where you've got photographers who maybe have one style over another. Have you had any experiences maybe where you've got this particular style and people book you and maybe they want you to change the style to fit them? Have you had any instances where you've been discussing with customers and they go, oh, Angharad, we love your work, but we really want it in this style? Is that something you've had challenges with?
No, not myself. I know loads of people that have. I think with that is the biggest thing is you need to make sure that you're booking in the right clients. I won't just take on any work. I'll have a conversation with the people booking beforehand, and it's as much that they've got to be suitable to me as me to them. Have I said that right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, they've got to be the right person for me, and I've got to be the right person for them. And if it's not aligning, I would just rather not take the job.
Which is good, because it's tough making money in the creative industry, and when you're starting off,
it's a fine line. You want the money.
You want to take any of the work.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's hard to say no to maybe where there's an opportunity, there's money on the table, but it's maybe not the right opportunity for you.
Yeah. I've not had anybody want me to change my style. I've had...
And would you?
No.
Why?
Absolutely not. Because it's the way that I advertise myself. They're the people that I want to attract, the weddings, the kind of style that I want to attract, and the people that I want to attract. Has there been a couple of venues that I wouldn't want to work at again? Yes.
Name them.
They just haven't been my style. There was one in particular, and my bride don't mind me saying this, that she got married in a particular venue, and she will say herself it wasn't exactly where she would have wanted, not to want to get married, but it wasn't to the style that she would want. And I made the photos look like they could have been photographed anywhere. They were... I'm blowing my own trumpet, but they were fantastic. They're actually one of my favourite galleries, but one of my least favourite venues to have worked at.
That's
only because of the decor. It was very dated, but you would have not have known that they were shot there, and they were. Yeah, that is one of my favourite galleries.
That's interesting, because you've got a creative challenge here.
Yeah, I was stressed.
I bet.
Yeah,
it's an environment. Maybe it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
You walk into that environment, that venue, it doesn't maybe look aesthetically pleasing to yourself and the bride. And then you've got to then, in the best creative way possible, photograph that event in a way that doesn't show off the space too much, because they didn't maybe want to use that venue for whatever reason. So and they were really pleased with that, and that's some of your favourite work. Yeah.
It is, I would say, it's the gallery where I showcased really my creativity a bit more. I experimented a lot more with light and shutter drag and all those different things that I've wanted to, and I just thought, well, let's just go for it and just hope for the best. And yeah, I loved them.
Now, weddings are a very high pressured environment. You only get one take, unless of course you get married multiple times. I didn't. 3 times. So it's a lot of pressure. I can imagine it's quite stressful. How do you deal with that pressure when the job is on the line, so to speak, and you've got a task to deliver, and a bride and a groom or whatever that may be to serve. How do you deal in environments like that when there are problems, when a problem arises? How do you overcome some of those challenges?
You've got to have a cool head. I don't have a cool head the rest of the time, but at a wedding I have a cool head. It's such a stressful day for the bride or the groom or whichever way. You don't want to add to that. So my biggest thing is I don't want them to know that there's any stresses at all. So even if internally I'm screaming.
That happens to me.
Yeah, I literally start sweating.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Everything's just peachy. Yeah, I just don't show it. When I get home, on the other hand, I've got I completely shut down and I just want to rock in a corner. And my children and Tom, my husband, is trying to talk to me and they're just talking at me because I'm just I've shut down. They call it the wedding hangover the day after because you're just so high on the wedding day and you just are so focused that you just have this feeling of that your body just shuts down the following day and you're just so tired because you're taking on loads of, it's so stressful, such a high, and you only, like you said, you only have one take. If the confetti shot goes wrong, I can't say, oh, everybody pick it up off the floor. Let's go again and hope that no leaves and mud fall on them. Yeah, so just screaming internally if something goes wrong, but just staying cool and collected in front of. And
how do you prepare for a day of work for a wedding where maybe you've had a couple of weddings that week and you've got lots to edit? How do you personally stay cool and calm and collected on those sorts of days? What keeps you ticking over, keeps you prepared in your personal life? Is it important for you to I don't know, go on holidays, go on breaks, go and walk the dog? What really prepares you for that day of work?
I think big one for me is just self-care. I've not been great with it recently. I actually haven't been to the gym since October, and you know how much I've lost quite a lot of weight with doing that, and it became a huge part of my routine and just for de-stressing, the endorphins that working out gives me just really calms me down. So that I've started reformer Pilates. That's fun. Just to de-stress and just look after myself, because I think if you're feeling good, everything just falls into place. Because
if you're not feeling great,
you
can't really expect your clients to feel great.
Yeah, you know, they say tidy house, tidy mind. Tidy me, tidy mind.
My mind's a mess if that's the case.
Yeah, but I feel that's a huge thing for me is tidy house, tidy mind, tidy me, tidy mind. Everything just falls into place if I've got my stuff together.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so you've been doing your wedding photography business now full time for a little while.
Yeah.
I want to unpack that journey between taking the leap, right? Because there's a lot of people, especially in the creative industries, whether people out there are listening are graphic designers maybe, or they're photographers themselves. For me, there was a part where building my business, I had to then work another job to then be able to afford to invest in the gear, invest in the business, to then take that leap and invest 100%. So I think the only way you can really take a business to the next level is invest in 100%. You can't put 50% of your time in a business and make it 100% successful. You've just got to, but you've got to learn to walk before you can run.
Yeah.
So talk me through the sort of the dilemma. You had this beauty business. You were a beautician.
Yeah.
You had this beauty business, which you found a good way to make money and to have a good, healthy family balance. You kind of fell out of love with that, but then you were doing the photography. So what was it like for you doing both at the same time?
Hard work. Really difficult. I struggled. I know I've had multiple conversations with you when you were telling me, listen, you just need to take that jump. And I know it's easier said than done. You know exactly the way it is. Yeah, it was I just got to the point that I realised that it just wasn't going to work anymore. I was still doing the beauty. I'd had my daughter Blair, my youngest, and I went off on maternity leave. And I was back in the beauty industry. I think she was 4 weeks old, and I'd started doing a couple of clients. But I capped that at 1 day a week when I came back, because I'd picked up, I think she was 6 months old when Angharad Thomas, the other photographer, had told me, listen, upgrade your kit. Here's what I use. So my kit is exactly the same as hers. I trust everything. She could tell me everything and I would trust her.
What did you start off with? Camera.
So the first camera I had, which is actually awful to admit this, was actually one that Tom had bought me secondhand when Fern was a baby, who she's now 8. Was a Nikon D5300.
Don't.
I know.
I'm joking.
I know. Nikon D5300. And then, this is such a long story. Another photographer that is in the wedding industry, Taylor, she had actually come to take pictures of the salon space that I was working in. And I loved her photos. And it made me actually think, well, I've just paid her X amount to take these photos. I could have done that. Which I really don't like when people are like, oh, she's paying money. I could have done that. Like, not everybody is perfect, but because I had the photography background, I actually asked her what her lens was, Sigma 35. So I then bought that lens and I started I was actually, one of my best friends from school had messaged me saying, I've seen that you're getting into photography. I was just dabbling. I was just taking pictures of my daughter. She said, it was 2020. She got married in a registry office in Carmarthen. And she said, if I sling you £100, will you do the ceremony? Yeah.
You did it?
Yeah. I shot JPEG.
Oh, JPEG?
JPEG.
Oh, what are you doing? Okay.
I didn't have...
Maybe some people listening and watching are like,
yeah.
Like JPEG? What's that? Okay.
Yeah, you should shoot in RAW.
Okay, you should shoot in RAW.
Shoot in RAW. Shot in JPEG. I had no presets. I was using Lightroom and not Lightroom Classic that I now use. Had no idea what I was doing, really. I should mention that when I was in college, I studied film photography. Okay, so I had
You already knew what you should have been doing.
Yeah. I did that, and then I got in contact with Angharad again. This was probably Angharad Thomas.
I want to come back to the bride. Did she like the photos?
Loved them.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, and I loved them because it was my best friend in school.
That's nice.
Yeah, and then I also shot my now best friend as an adult, her wedding in Morgan's Hotel as a gift to her.
That's nice. A gift.
A gift.
Oh, that's nice.
I know. I was trotting around in 6-inch platform heels. I don't know how I did it. And that was also shot on my Nikon. Terrible. The photos aren't actually terrible. She loves them. And yeah, I messaged Angharad Thomas again and I said, I really, really want to get into this because I really love doing them. And she said, right, upgrade your kit and you can come second shooting with me. So I did that for free to get some experience. We did our first wedding with her in Slebitch. So that was my first time where I'd used my new Canon. So I'd gone from Nikon to Canon, and I'd gone from a half frame SLR to a full frame mirrorless camera. Ooh. I did not know what I was doing. I arrived at Slebitch after I'd done groom prep myself already, and I said, I don't know what these buttons are for.
You didn't tell the groom that, did you?
No, I told Angharad, the photographer. I'd like to say that I was doing this for free, so they were getting all these photos extra for free. Bonus content.
Okay, nice.
And I rocked up, and she took my camera from me and changed all the buttons around and told me that I was still shooting JPEG.
Oh. Okay.
So she sorted my camera out for me because I'm not silly with tech anymore, but I was a bit oblivious to everything. And yeah, I went to multiple weddings with her, and
So I'm guessing you learned from that experience, you got better, she was training you.
yeah, and just experimenting with things. And that was the perfect opportunity. You know, I was doing it for free. Everything that the couples were getting was extra. It was bonus for them to have that extra set of eyes. If she was going to use the images, perfect. I'd like to say that she did use my images. But yeah, it was a perfect way to shadow somebody with no pressure, just learning on the job. Getting back to your point, taking the jump. You actually were one of the biggest reasons in the back of my head going, you can't give 2 jobs like 100%. So yeah,
So at what point did you give up the beauty stuff in this timeline now? We're now in 2025. At what point did you drop the beauty and said, right, I'm going 100% in?
So I took on my first wedding job September 20. It wasn't last year, it was the year before. What year are we? 23.
Yeah.
Just by chance, another photographer had a C-section, hadn't recovered very well, and the wedding that she was meant to shoot...
I was obviously a woman. I was thinking...
a wedding that she was meant to shoot, she couldn't. So I took on that booking. That was my first ever on my own wedding.
Oof.
Yeah. And
How'd it go?
I had like 3 days notice. Yeah, fantastic. I loved it so much. I was dripping wet nervous beforehand. But I absolutely loved it. Like, it was so fun. It was in a barn, just really fun couple. Yeah, so that's when I really pulled back from the beauty, because I was like, right, this is something that I want to do. But wedding photography is seasonal. I mean, people are getting married all times a year now, but it's very still, you know, from May to September, they're your busiest months in the wedding industry, I'd say. So I was very much cautious with I didn't want to get to the winter months, and because I hadn't had loads of bookings in advance, because this was my first time that I'd shot my own wedding, I didn't want to just stop and then there was no income over the winter months. Obviously I've got a family.
That's quite wise.
Yeah. But I'm thankful for it. My business, the photography business, really, like, it happened fast. I'm so lucky that, you know, with the beauty side of things, it took me years to get to the point that I was fully booked and was turning people away. And I was expecting the same with the photography business. But, you know, to have picked up a camera for the first time in 2021 and to be fully booked this year, like...
Wow.
Yeah, you know? So...
In 2025, you fully booked?
Yeah, I got 32 weddings this year.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, so it happened really, really, really fast. So I had to make that decision fast, because it wasn't fair for me to keep all these beauty clients and say, oh, well, in the winter months when it suits me, I'll keep you. But then I'm going to just say ta-ra for 8 months a year. It's just not fair. So it was time for me to just... I think it was pushed by the fact that I was poorly end of last year, and I just really struggled with managing the 2 businesses, and I just knew that was...
It's hard enough running one business, running 2 is challenging.
Yeah, and just the social media side, and I felt like I wasn't giving photography everything, and I needed to. So, yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to hear that my challenging... I'm not going to take credit for it, because...
No, you can take credit. It was you that was in my head saying, do it. So, yeah.
I'm glad. Because, yeah, I remember when I first met you and I saw your photos, I thought you were really, really talented. You're really good. And I think there's, you know, to know from my creative journey, to learn how long it's taken me to get to what I am, whether that's film or photography, to see how quick you got there in that short space of time, that's impressive. And yeah, to see you fully booked, like that's just gobsmacked me.
I know. I didn't know I didn't tell you that.
Yeah. Why didn't you tell me that?
I don't know.
I thought we were friends.
I know.
I can't believe that.
But that was done through like everybody thinks that it is a competitive market in the sense that there's so many of us wedding photographers, wedding videographers, florists, you name it. There is such like a saturated market, I would say. And yes, it's competitive in the fact that there's so many of us, but it's such a good community that I wouldn't have been able to be where I am without other photographers in the industry.
Really?
Yeah, loads of support, which I was very...
That doesn't seem right, because it seems very competitive, and it's like, I would think it's kind of like dog eat dog, like, oh, this is...
I haven't experienced that. No. In the beauty industry, and again, I'm not bashing the beauty industry because I did love it at one point, it was very different. Like, I felt like in the beauty industry, from my personal experience, is it was very competitive in a bad way, and I like to keep out of that. And there wasn't, you know, it's changed now, but there wasn't support around me from people in the same industry. That is changing. But to go into the wedding photography business, and it's just been really, really lovely to have the support and people just wanting you to do well.
That's good.
Obviously, there's always going to be people who aren't like that. But the people that I've had experience with have been really supportive.
Enemies.
Nah,
the way I look at it in business, in my world, you've got people who do exactly what I do. And I'll be honest, there are some suppliers maybe that I would see as, enemies.
Yeah.
That's a strong word, but there's certainly some companies, directors who run video businesses I wouldn't go out for a coffee with.
Yeah, of course.
There are some who do exactly what I do, and I have good friendships, because sometimes, I specialise in a particular area of filmmaking, and maybe a job comes up, isn't my cup of tea. I can go, do you know what, go and speak to this person. They'll do a fantastic job for you. So it's good to hear that in that wedding industry, you've experienced a more supportive network of people encouraging you to go for it, and people who do what you do.
Yeah.
And I get that's where style comes in, because style is very subjective. You might have maybe a customer or a bride, a prospect, however you want to call it. You might have somebody come to you and go, "Can you do this for me?" And it might not be your thing, but because you've got a supportive network, you can go, "Do you know what? Oh,
this person could do it." Yeah.
Taylor, yeah, or Tyler, she's good, or Angharad, yeah, she'll do that for you, because that's more her thing.
Yeah.
Which is good, because that's a win for everyone.
Yeah.
Because you're giving business then to other people, and hopefully likewise
They'll give it back to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
you get to gain that. So I've not been a bride because I'm a groom, but it is very stressful planning a wedding, even though Amy did a lot of it.
3 times.
3 times. What are some maybe top tips you'd say for those that you meet, whether you go for coffee with customers? What are maybe some tips you can give to them in making that process a little bit less stressful?
Controversial. The first one for me would be invite who you want there.
That's a big one.
It's a huge one.
Do you know what? The amount of in COVID, right? We went from
I loved COVID for this reason.
Oh, I hated it. We had 180 people on our guest list, right? We had to break that down. The first wedding, we had to break that down to 30. The amount of arguments I had with family.
Easy for me.
Well, it's easy for you. It wasn't easy for me. Anyway,
you've got quite a big family though.
Big family. We were like linked between 3 different churches for like Amy's church, my father-in-law's church, and all that. So it was tough, but yeah. Okay, that's a good tip. Invite who you want there.
Yeah,
if they let you.
Yeah, I think just it's so much money, and the amount of times that I've been at weddings, both as a photographer and a guest, that people have like rolled their eyes at somebody being there, and you're just like, why would you invite them? Like, I get that it might be a second cousin, but when's the last time you saw them? They have nothing to do with your life now. And I just think, just have the people that you absolutely... If you looked around a room and somebody was missing, if you thought, oh, where are they? That would be my one, is just people that you notice isn't there. Second one, which is another like controversial, don't worry about your dress.
That is controversial.
Yeah, because a lot of people want all these like creative photos, or for them to look a certain way that they see on my Instagram and my website. And the reality of it is they've walked through a field and the field has mud.
Mud on a dress?
Mud on a dress.
No.
So
You can Photoshop it out anyway.
Angharad Thomas, who shot my wedding, had me in horse poo. Yeah. It was the hottest day of the year, I'd like to add. And it was just glaring light. And the only place that she could find shade was under a tree with where they'd put the manure. I was just happy to get the photos. I'd do anything for a good photo.
You are committed.
I am committed.
I
wouldn't put all my brides in horse poo.
Carry on, we're not standing there.
But I was just on such a high that I didn't care, and they're one of my favorite photos in the gallery. So yeah, that would be one. Is don't be precious about your dress. Like if you're not realistically going to wear it again, mine. What is it? 4 years later is still in the bag that I put it on the morning after my wedding. It hasn't been dry cleaned. Smells of horse poo. So yeah, that would be one. And to just not worry, especially on the day of. I know that you can turn up to a wedding and they're like, well, this hasn't been done and this hasn't been done. And there are things that, if it hasn't been done before that day, you can't change it. So just enjoy it because it goes so, so fast. And everybody tells you this. And I'm sure that couples are sick and tired of hearing people tell you this, is it does just go so fast. And you just want to make sure that you just enjoy every moment because, It does go really fast. So fast.
It flew when we had our 3 weddings each day. I was good.
I want 3 weddings.
You want 3 weddings?
Yeah.
Ask Tom.
Do you know, because styles change.
Vow renewal?
Vow renewal. That's like quite a big mouthful, actually. Styles change so much. I wouldn't change my dress or any of the other things, but I'd like to try other things.
Okay.
Like a wedding a year.
A wedding a year?
A wedding a year.
Amy wants a 5-year vow renewal.
I'm
like,
that's fair enough. I don't
crazy.
think Tom would allow 5 years because that would be next year. 10 years.
10 years is reasonable.
I'm going big.
So if we got loads of money, Cariad, in 5 years' time, we'll consider it. Okay, well, that's good. That's a nice couple of top tips for those aspiring brides or grooms who are getting married.
And tradition, that's another one. Traditions, some of them, actually all of them. I know that you'll have beliefs with regards to weddings, but I just think if having, I don't know, your father and your mother, if they're separated, I know mine are, like, they don't have to go on the top table. You don't have to separate people. Like, you don't have to do certain things because that's what's seen to be done. You just do what you want to do.
If you want, you can have 10 best men.
Yeah. Just do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to have a 3-course sit-down meal. If you want a barbecue and that's it, if you want Mackey's, like, crack on.
Have you done any weddings with Mackey's?
No, I would want to, though. Like a drive-through Mackey's.
That'd be a real cheap wedding, wouldn't it?
With champagne. I could make those photos look good.
Okay, break tradition. This podcast is all about hearing personal stories. We're going to hear a little bit about your journey. I'd love to know, who is somebody that you would just love to hear their personal story? That could be someone really inspirational, somebody really influential, somebody's story maybe you haven't heard before. And that could be, we've thrown it out there, some fictional people or people that don't exist. We've had Taylor Swift, Jesus. Who do you love to sit down? Whose story would you and I'd love to hear?
Literally, this is the worst question for me because I've told you how much I've been thinking about this question because I don't want to seem stupid.
Why would you seem stupid?
I don't know, because I can't. So inspiration, we've gone there, and I've said my friend Angharad Thomas. That's who has got me to start where I am now. She's been like the main drive to get me to where I am. If I could sit down with somebody,
well, would you sit down with her? Do you know her story?
Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
we won't have Angharad. You know Angharad's story. Angharad knows Angharad's story.
Angharad knows Angharad's story. That's a really tough question for me. Who would I want to know?
who is really interesting. And that could be in the wedding industry. It could be someone who, like you talked earlier about editorial. Is there a really, really just like global, epic wedding photographer you would just love to unpick their brains, maybe? Or maybe somebody who works in forensics in the police?
I don't know.
Could be an old family member.
Would I want to unpick their brains? I'm not an old family member, no. If I thought, like, I just immediately thought of my brother who passed away, I wouldn't want to unpick his brains. Like, no.
Not physically unpick, you know. I'm talking about, like, understanding them as a person. Who inspires you?
Inspires me. Loads of photographers.
Okay, come on. Reel some off.
They're actually like local ones.
Okay.
So there is Sophie Collins. I'm just like, up the Wales.
Yeah.
Sophie Collins. Her name's Zena Bullen Archer. She's Cardiff way.
Okay.
She's come from an editorial background. She's doing loads of different things. She's actually going into video. She does video as well. And she's starting to shoot on Super 8. And I would love to learn more about Super 8 because I love that like vintagey feel.
Ooh. Okay.
You know?
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah. So I'd say her actually. Although I pick her brains a lot of WhatsApp.
I only asked you one, but that's fine. You can have 3.
Yeah. And then just Molly May because she's got loads of money.
Molly May, come and chat with Angharad on the
Do you know what it is?
Angharad Stevens
her
podcast.
Her social media stuff, her presence on social media, not from like a personal point of view, but I've mentioned before that I need to be more present on my business social media and I really struggle with that. My personality is like all or nothing. And I might do 3 days of just posting to the point that you're sick of me, and then I'll disappear for 2 weeks.
That's the game.
So
that's marketing. It's
Molly May, to know how she does social media so well.
Do you know how she does?
She does it every day.
Yeah. Do you know how she does it?
No.
She probably pays somebody to do it for her.
Yeah, but she started doing it just herself. I know that Love Island catapulted it, but she did do it herself before.
Well,
that's one thing.
It's the good thing about
because with
marketing,
social media become business. That's where I get my business from. So I'd really want to push that side.
Well, you can just upskill yourself in content creation, because I think that for me, when I've put content out there as Story Cymru, what always does better in terms of content is the organic stuff I create versus the work I've done for customers. So if I just put out a reel or a promotional film or a brand story, whatever that I've done for a customer, that gets nowhere near as good as an engagement if I then go to intentionally film me talking about the project.
Yeah.
That does way better.
Yeah, I get that. There's a girl, I'm just name dropping all the photographers. They're just getting free advertisement from me. Mary, she's actually a real advocate for...
I know Mary.
Thomas?
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Hi, Mary.
She doesn't know me.
Oh.
I was in university with her sister.
Yeah, so
Winnie.
She's a real advocate for supporting other creatives in the industry. She set up the Fun Wedding Club, so we go for coffee and just chat about what's going on in the wedding industry, how we're doing and all that stuff. They actually, I went to a coffee meeting a couple of weeks ago and it was them that pushed me to put my prices up.
Well done.
I know. So yeah, her social media presence is fantastic.
Mary.
Do you follow her?
Yeah, I follow her.
Have you seen her social media presence? Like,
no, I haven't.
But it's like a lot of
recently.
Oh, my neck just went. Just if you heard a pop, that was my neck. I told you that I'm going to be the craziest person you've had on this podcast.
You are probably definitely the most craziest person.
I'm sorry.
Okay, Mary social media.
Mary social media, like her social media presence is phenomenal. She just records herself doing everything. Records herself going to Greg's. People love that.
I haven't got time for that.
No, neither have I.
Not that I haven't got time for her. Is I physically don't have the time.
Yeah,
to
but she
record
could
myself doing
argue
something.
that, couldn't she? That she doesn't have the time.
She probably cares more than me.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah, but I guess your clientele, are they a lot of Instagram focused people? I feel like with weddings, it's very much trends, posting it on social media. So for me, I feel like that would be a big part of my business, is to reach those people on.
Yeah, I get no business from Instagram.
Yeah, that's my biggest.
So maybe then that's
revenue.
going to be a focus for you to push the socials and do more. Do it in a healthy way, because I think that it's always best when it comes to marketing, quality over quantity.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot of people may disagree with that and say different, because it is gone in a minute. So, but I do get that. But I think if you put time and effort, instead of a chat GPT generated caption, like take time to actually write something meaningful, that does way better than just chucking things out there and see what sticks. So maybe up in your game in 2025 to then get more weddings in 2026.
I'm going to be Mary level.
With higher rates. Mary level. Angharad, thank you for coming on. I'd love to hear how people can maybe reach out to you and find out more about your wedding packages and the lifestyle stuff, because you don't just do weddings, you do a couple shoots and things like that. How can people find out about booking you?
Instagram. So Angharad Stevens Photography on Instagram. That's an easy way to find my work, or on my website, which is www.angharadstevensphotography.com. There is an inquiry page on there.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Book me now.
Special.
Coupons? Did you do vouchers for Story Cymru listeners?
Can I? Yeah. Yeah.
0% discount.
0% discount.
Thanks for coming on. I've loved hearing your sort of journey from, the forensics to overcoming that, picking that camera back up, because that's probably what your brother would have wanted, picking the camera.
Do you know, I just think that on a wedding day, going back to weddings, obviously I do other stuff as well, but weddings primarily, on a wedding day you spend thousands and thousands and thousands. All that you have left is your wedding ring and your photos and video. So I just think, and they're the memories, we're going to leave this earth one day, and our grandchildren will be told stories about us, and all they will have is those memories. And I just think, from losing family members, myself, all that I have is obviously memories in my head, but photographs. So I just think special.